Welcome back to Jonathan Stops Hating a Hat in Time. Let's talk to Mustache Girl now, see what she has to say.
Let's go over the plan. All assaults need a good plan.
Assaults. Probably not a word that you want to hear from your new best friend regarding your afternoon plans.
First, we strangle them.
So I've seen a few people play this game, and I'm always surprised by the lack of a reaction to this scene. Because what we're seeing on screen right now is a pretty graphic depiction of a very real kind of death, not like a video game death where someone explodes, but just strangulation. And strangulation is too kind. And so after this chalkboard drawing, we get blood and we get gore. I know that this game wasn't made specifically for kids. Obviously it was made for people who grew up with 3D platformers, but it was made with kids in mind, so it's a little bit baffling to me that they would show this and also only show it this one time. There's never any more blood or gore to that degree for the rest of the game. I mean, technically one of the things that is shown on that chalkboard does come up again, but it doesn't look like that. It looks a lot more cartoony. I guess you could argue that looked cartoony, but still, it's not something you'd see in a comic in the newspaper, or in most kids' movies. So, here's the mission that I was dreading last time. I wasn't really dreading it, it's just I have minor complaints with it because, once again, I had expectations that were not most people's expectations, because I had a different background with this game from most people. Now, one certainly positive thing I can say about it is Hat Kid has this adorable outfit. This should be her outfit all the time, because it is the best. But yeah, before I get to the meat of this mission, I'll go around and do some stuff that I missed. I know that I missed out on a very obvious vault item last time because I collected the 3 tickets and then for some reason didn't actually open the vault. I was just frazzled, thinking about too many things at once. Here's a camera that I will never use, and I feel like it's a useful enough item that they probably should have put it on one of the buttons that does this or this. Like, those are cute buttons and all, cute little taunts, but if either one of those was the camera button, I think it would be a lot easier to use instead of having to select it as one of the badges. Because you can only have so many badges on at one time, and I don't know. Fine, I'll stitch this hat. It is a witch hat. A brewing hat, more specifically, and apparently I can rotate it. I didn't actually want to equip it. I like to stick with the normal hat for the most part. It just looks the nicest. It was made for her design. So, my expectation from this particular challenge came from probably a video before the Kickstarter where Mafia Town was much smaller than it is now. It was just one fish shop and some grass and a few Mafia NPCs and a dock, and that was it, basically. And in that video, there were these Mafia guys bullying someone just outside the fast food restaurant, probably, or not fast food, fish food restaurant, or fish shop. Much like they already do in the finished game, but it's, I guess, implied that the guy owns the fish shop, and you find your way into that shop, or maybe you just get a timepiece or whatever by going to a dumpster next to the shop and just rummaging around in it, and then you get smelly. You go up to the Mafia people, and they smell you, and they're repulsed, and they run away. Which I thought was interesting, because the fact that you're not explicitly told to do that, and it's not super like, in your face, here, this is what you're doing. I thought it was an interesting way to, like, give the player a little puzzle to solve. Because if you were given just a vague hint that you're supposed to lure the Mafia away somehow, and there was a dumpster and that was one of the only things you could interact with nearby, it would have been kind of neat. But instead, this mission is designed around the fact that you have all these mud piles everywhere, and because they're everywhere, you are very unlikely not to run into one and get covered in mud by accident. And what happens is, once you're covered in mud like this, once you go up to the Mafia guy with the fawful glasses, he gets scared and runs away, much like the guys did in the video that I watched years ago. But you are already covered in mud, there's not really a puzzle. It's very much something that you can do without knowing that it was something you were supposed to do. That said, this game does have its puzzles. I'm not gonna say, like, it completely dropped the ball in every capacity in that regard. I like puzzles, so I just sort of wish there were more of them. I wouldn't mind if there were more things like that in 3D platformers or collectathons. Especially if they're sort of adventure game type puzzles like you would expect from a point-and-click adventure game. I know that Paper Mario Sticker Star tried to do that, and it didn't fully succeed. Because it was just a little bit too obtuse. Can I get smelly anyway? I can indeed. Yep, that is something that you can do still. So there's a remnant of that. Alright, is that everything that I thought that I missed before? It might be. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and talk to Fawful Glasses. Or Riddell Mystere Glasses, or what other characters have those kinds of glasses? I guess that one character who shows up in whatever game it is. Not Mad Father, but a game made by the same people as Mad Father, or the same person, and then, like, in the other game, it's implied that it's the main character from Mad Father, but with those crazy glasses on. So here we go. We're scaring him away. He climbs up some boxes, as you do. The other issue that I have with this mission, it is such a nitpick, but this wasn't even based on, like, my expectations from the beta or the pre-Kickstarter videos or anything. Just, I remember first time I played this. Why am I making this jump so terribly? It's not that difficult of a jump. And thankfully, it's forgiving with its checkpoints. Yeah, there's no reason for me to be messing this up as much as I am. Alright. So, you see that meat on the bone over there behind the big flashing timepiece icon? I came up here before this mission when everything was in broad daylight, and I saw that, and I thought, wow, that looks important. Like, we see this door open, this wooden door open on this side, maybe it'll open on the other side, and the meat will fall down onto the Mafia City, and crush something, and maybe open a path. Instead, what happens is, once you're through with this little challenge, you talk to this guy, he gives you a timepiece, nothing happens with the meat on the bone. It's purely there as a set piece. Which feels to me like a weird, unused Chekhov's gun moment. Like they have the gun on the wall and it never fires in the third act. Again, it's a nitpick, but it just feels like there should have been more there. I don't know. Yes, Roomba? Are you okay down there? Need to hire a new Roomba. So that's covered. Let's take down the Mafia. Why don't we? Now when I say that this game isn't completely devoid of puzzles, this is part of the reason that I say that, because this mission more or less starts with a puzzle that might not be immediately obvious to people who are new to the game. Actually, come to think of it, it's pretty clear what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to jump into the cannon, but let's see. Which way is the docks? Because there was something else that I wanted to do, something small, to get some yarn. Kirby's Epic Yarn. With my yard. Okay, I wasn't looking for the docks, I was actually looking for the beach, with its bright, glistening journey sand. There's a few things that I can get here. Actually, hold on, let me wash off first. Yes. And for some reason, the entire ocean becomes blue, a different shade of blue whenever I'm in it. I know that I have some settings turned down. I didn't want this to run too slowly to record. Yeah, so we have 2 buttons here. And I believe there is a beach ball, yep, beach ball that I can use to weigh one of those down, because, you know, beach balls are known for being heavy. I seem to recall this old, like, Great John L. comic. I don't know what that comic was, but it's something that we used to own in a small book form, and one of the comics was, like, the mom of the comic was really distraught, and she thought maybe she was too overprotective, like, am I an overprotective mother? And then she tells her son, hey, don't play with that thing, you'll get your eye poked out. And then he says, with a beach ball? And she concludes that yes, she is indeed an overprotective mother. What does this say? Gonna head up to the cannon again. A nice little icon on the screen telling me where I'm supposed to be going. Which I sort of do and don't appreciate at the same time. Like, you can hold down a button that shows you exactly where you need to go. Sometimes I think it's very helpful to have that sort of thing available, but other times it just seems a little too pushy, like, hey, this is where you need to go over here, do it, instead of allowing you to explore. I did take my time. I was collecting. Alright. Death to all the Mafia. Down with the Mafia. Fine, make me stand on the one that's further away. Go away, please. Has a little bit of the same energy as the shut up sign and the Riddle School 3 library. So hey, I can relate to some of the humor. Nice looking place. Man, in the beta I explored this to such a great degree. I mean, I explored everything in the beta to a really thorough degree. But I remember in the beta I was like clipping out of bounds, and I found this secret room that I wanted to know what the significance of it was, because there was no real way to reach it in the beta. And as it turns out, I don't think it was particularly important, but yeah. Definitely some Super Mario Sunshine energy with this. Going on top of the scaffolding. Oh, apparently the rats hurt you. I didn't even see them there. Kind of dark. Okay, hold on.
The Mafia are terrible at cooking, but fear not. Cooking Cat is here.
Very inspired name. Because we already have characters like Hat Kid and Mustache Girl and the Mafia. So Cooking Cat is kind of in line with that, I guess. So we bring this bucket of crabs to this switch over here. I did not mean to do that. Kind of forgot that there was another button to press. Could you stop going, eh? I know that you're a small child and you're not very mature, but you don't have to do what we can already do in a taunt by pressing up on the D-pad every 5 minutes whenever you're near Mafia. It happens through the whole game. I think it was one of their, maybe not quite last-minute additions, but it seems like it could have been tested a bit more to be less obnoxious. Because I know there were some things that were added really late in the game. For example, this was added, I think, like within 30 minutes of the game's release. And it was inspired by the dabbing in Yonoid 2, the analog dabbing. And I've already played Yonoid 2 for the channel, so you probably know what that is, maybe. Hard to say. So another beta detail. Previously, the way that this room worked, these stands, I don't know what they're called, or with the meat hooks with the swordfish, you could hit them with the umbrella and they would slide. They looked a little bit different from this, I think. And the puzzle was to get them to slide in such a way that they were positioned where you could jump across them easily, but I guess maybe that was a little bit too obscure, so they just ditched the idea. Or it was a little too slow, I don't know. Because I can't speak for the reasons that things were changed, all I know is that they were changed. And I want to say that this hallway used to be longer. It probably wasn't, but it certainly used to feel longer. Yep, there she goes, going again. What are you, Wario in the pause screen of Wario World? Going nya for a full hour before he says sorry, and then just gives up. I like how the combat of this game is not complicated and I still manage to mess it up.
It is you!
It is I,
Ever since you
Spartacus.
Mafia Town, it's been written. You must be very including.
Yes, okay. You have your monologue. You're the villain monologue here. There's some very evident Donkey Kong Country inspiration with this boss fight. Especially Donkey Kong Country 2's final boss, as you might be able to tell from this and from similar moments later in the fight. Something I remember Jonas Karlev saying on Twitter once, a long time ago, before he started archiving all his tweets, was something like, there's no reason for us to make any more 2D platformers because we already peaked with Donkey Kong Country 2. Which I can't say I agree with, even though there are plenty of 2D platformers. There could always be more. People seem to keep coming up with cool ideas, and I don't even consider Donkey Kong Country 2 to be the best of that trilogy. Apparently when they're red, touching them at all hurts. Good to know, I guess. I was not paying much attention. Very metal music here. And we're on a stage. And this is happening. Definitely Thousand Year Door vibes from this. If anyone remembers the fight with Lord Crump, I think, with the ball of minions. Yeah, totally what that was, with the Mafia ball. I like the Mafia people who are trees in the background. Does anyone have a story about being a weird object or prop or something in a play for school? Because I don't have anything significant like that. All I remember is that in elementary school, I had to be in a play, and we were all like dressed as spiders for some reason. I can't even remember what kind of play that it was. But we were supposed to have more complicated hats on than the one that I had on, but I just, like, used the one made out of paper that we made in class. Something else that I recall from that whole boss fight, there was someone on, I don't know whether it was Twitter or the Hat in Time, like, community page, but someone managed to get out of bounds on the 2D part, and they were just part of the audience somehow, part of the audience of Mafia people.
So what do these things do anyway? Are they some sort of...
I would think if you design a game to be strictly on a 2D plane, it would be really difficult to leave that 2D plane. But I don't know.
Are they some sort of rare wait, huh?
Time has been introduced to the game for the first time, and one of the last times. Still think it's weird that her mouth does not move as she talks.
Whoa, what? What?
This is also where I first began questioning the ethics of Hat Kid. Because, I mean, it is clear, I would say, at this point, that Mustache Girl is a little bit crazy and that she's not okay to be around based on things like, hey, let's kill the Mafia, by using horrible force. But at this stage, according to the game, Hat Kid and Mustache Girl are friends, or at least they're like halfway to being friends. And at this point, Mustache Girl is making a pretty good point that they could use their powers to do good for the world.
Wait, we can make it so the wait, even better. We could be...
And because Hat Kid never says a word, it's hard to tell what her motivations are, but she's like, no, I don't want to do that. Sorry. Saving the world with my best friend? I'll pass.
all this power, and you're not gonna use it to fight evil?
Mustache Girl says the same thing. I mean, she is the villain here, but this is something that I kind of agree with her on. Nope.
If you're not gonna use them to
Yeah,
fight
rightly so, Mustache Girl seems to think that Hat Kid is being really selfish
We're
here.
not gonna let this island remain as Mafia Town.
Yes. Overly blurry scene for some reason. But if it wasn't clear before that she's the villain, well, now she is, because she pickpocketed half your pawns. Once again in Thousand Year Door fashion. Because that's what happens at the beginning of the game with half your coins. Problem is, or the difference is, that you can actually get them back in that game. In this one you can't. Although I didn't know for the longest time that you could get them back in Thousand Year Door, so it's not really that much of a distinction, I guess, for me. So this video's gone on long enough. I guess next time we will continue to do stuff in Mafia City and continue to lecture our Roomba about how to do its job. Get over here.